crafters. My name is Sharon Lake, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the U.S. Many of you know that last month we had a wonderful sale on our designer series paper, and I bought up quite a bit of it. Many of it comes in 6x6 size, and most of my storage is set up for 12x12 paper. So I found myself looking around at what can I do with this 6x6 paper. And I did find someone on the web who had a nice kind of little box, but it was a little bit more on the expensive side to make, and I wanted to see how I could make that with products that we have right around our home. And that's what I'm going to show you tonight. I am going to show you how to make a nice little storage for all that 6x6 paper that you've accumulated. And we're going to do it using regular household items. So, what I have decided to use to make my little box and storage is a cake box. You can buy or otherwise accumulate chipboard, but I just tend to save a lot of stuff that I have around my house and use it for chipboard because I just tend to be a little more frugal that way. So cake boxes, as you know, are a little more on the flimsy side, and that's where our wonderful Tombow Mono multi-adhesive comes in. Most of the time when I see people using Tombow, they are using the pen side of it, which is wonderful for fine little areas. But tonight I am going to use the wide side here. I don't know how many of you have ever used that, but it has this wonderful little rubber tip on there that's great for spreading your adhesive around. And that's what we're going to use to just kind of double strengthen our chipboard here. So I won't be using the edges, so I'm just going to spread our Tombow across this middle section here. And you're wondering, well, what about these areas where it folds? But we're going to fold it like this and double strengthen. There's no seam here, even though there's one here. Where there's a seam here, there won't be one on this side. So we are just going to double strengthen this box. It'll take me just a moment here to spread the Tombow across, or I may even speed up the video for you while I do this. So there's our Tombow spread through. Now I am just going to hold our box so that we get that all adhered down. And it does take just a few moments of pressing that down and around. I have a wonderful little bone folder here that's not a Stampin' Up! Bone folder. You can use your Stampin' Up! Bone folder, but I got this one especially for making albums because that's something that I tend to try to do at times. And it just seems to work out really nice. Pressing that Tombow down, helping that get adhered. It does dry and adhere pretty quickly. And I have a number of other boxes already in place, or already glued and adhesive. So I'm going to go ahead and get those. Alright, I'm just going to get my Stampin' trimmer here. And we are going to trim these boxes so that they are 6 1/4 by 5 inches. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this end off of the box. So there we have one of our pieces. So the pieces that we're going to need are 2 pieces that are 6 1/4 by 5. That's going to be our front and back of the box. Then we're going to need 2 pieces that are 3 by 5 for the sides and 1 piece that is 3 by 6 1/4 for the bottom. And we're actually going to double that and make a box double deep. So we're going to use 4 pieces of the 6 1/4 by 5, 4 of the 3 by 5, and 2 pieces that are 3 by 6 1/4. I'm just going to cut the rest of those pieces and I'll be right back. So now I'm just back. I have all my pieces cut that we're going to use for our box. I have 4 pieces that are 6 1/4 by 5. I have 2 pieces that are 3 by 6 1/4. Those are going to be our bottoms. And I have 4 pieces that are 3 by 5, and those are going to be our sides. We are going to butt 2 boxes up against each other, so I'll be putting designer series paper on all the outside pieces, but on the 2 pieces that butt up together, I'm going to use regular crafts cardstock. So, with our designer series paper, the paper that I've chosen is the Love What You Do designer series paper. And the reason I've chosen this is different than most of our designer series paper. This is a very, very thick paper. This is light cardstock. And also I just love it because it has that beautiful pearlized effect. I think you can kind of see that if I move the paper around a little bit there. Get that sheen that's coming through on the flowers. And my craft room is going to be different colors of mint and teal and whatnot, and I just thought this would be a lovely paper. The other reason I chose it is this is really a non-directional paper, and that's going to make it so much easier for putting our box together. So we're going to use 2 sheets of 12 by 12 paper. And we are going to cut that an inch wider than each of our chipboard pieces. That way we'll be able to put our box together using this designer series paper. And this thick paper is just going to add some strength to our box. So we're going to start by cutting that down. And there is rather a specific way that you want to cut that. I'm going to start by cutting 1 sheet right down in half. Okay, and so out of 1 sheet, you're going to be able to get the side of 1 box and the front of 1 box. So, our chipboard piece is 6 1/2 inches, or 6 1/4, I'm sorry. So we are going to want to cut this to 7 1/4 inches. So I'm just going to move that right over to there. And we'll go ahead and cut that sheet. And we'll set that aside. And then this sheet is 4 3/4 inches left. So the piece that we're trying to cover is 3 by 5. This is already 6 inches this direction. So that's perfect. We need it to be 4 inches the other direction. So I'm just going to move that over to 4 inches and cut that. And then I'm going to do that same thing 3 more times. And I'll be right back. Okay, so since we are not covering the 2 parts of our box that are sandwiched together, we are going to use regular cardstock. I've chosen mint macaron. I have 2 sheets of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock. We need to be able to cut out 2 pieces that are 7 1/4 by 6 inches. I wouldn't be able to get that out of 1 sheet, so we are going to use 2 sheets for that. So I'm just going to cut this direction by 7 1/4. Leaving the longest piece of my cardstock there intact. So that's 7 1/4, and then I need this to be 6 inches. So that does leave a large enough section of cardstock that I can use that for card fronts or whatnot. So I'm not going to throw these pieces of cardstock away. I'm not even going to discard these pieces of designer series paper because they can be used for banner pieces. They can be used to decorate the inside of a card and whatnot. So I'll just be holding on to those. Through with that board, I am just going to bring in my Simply Scored for a moment, because that's going to help us line up our chipboard pieces so that we can adhere those. Okay. 3 1/4 inches. 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 3 1/4 inches What we're going to do is we're going to take not all 4 of our designer series paper. We're going to save that for last. I think we can decorate the very base because I am just going to make a base that we can set this on at the end. We're going to take these 4 pieces and these 4 pieces, and we're just going to score those at a 1/2 inch all the way around. So I do find it's easier to score over here on the right, so I'm just going to hit this and hit a 1/2 inch right here on the right side all the way around. And that will also help once we're putting our box together. It just helps that to bend a little bit. Okay, so there's that piece done, and then I'm just going to speed up the video while I continue to score the rest of these pieces. Now that we have all of our pieces scored, we are going to adhere our chipboard to the back sides of these pieces. So that's what I'm going to start with next. I'm going to bring back in that Tombow glue, and we're going to use again the wide tip on this, and we're just going to put some glue right here in the center part of this, right on the inside of those score lines that we just made. And kind of smush that around. I have been a little heavy with my Tombow lately, so it's about time that I order some more of that also. Okay. These pieces, and we're just going to kind of line that up as best we can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to try and keep that right inside where those score lines are. And you have to kind of be quick because this Tombow gives you just enough time to get lined up, and then the glue is setting, so it's almost a little bit too fast for me there. Alright, there we go. That's perfect. Okay, so once we get done, you can line the inside of your box if you want to. It doesn't really matter because it's not going to be seen. It's going to be full of paper. But if you like to have all those little things tidied up and done, feel free to go ahead and line that. I'm sure you'll do a beautiful job. I'd love for you to share your video and show me what you accomplished. That would be great. I always like to see how people get creative and add their own twist to an idea, which is essentially what I'm doing. As I said, I did get this idea from another crafter, and I will share her information down on the video, below the video, and also I'll give her credit here towards the end of the video. Okay, so here goes the next little piece on here. And that one just seemed to line up all on its own. Perfect. So I'm just going to rub that over with my hand and make sure we get a good seal. It doesn't hurt to go over on this side also. Just give that a nice little rub. We'll set that aside and just keep going. And I'll go ahead and speed up the video to make this just go a little bit quicker. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is where we scored along the edges of these pieces, we are just going to bend those up around our chipboard. So I do have to warn you that this particular designer series paper can get a little bit cracky, so you just want to be very careful as you bend that around. just coax it ever so slightly. But it is worth using this paper, I do believe. It's the most beautiful paper that I've seen Stampin' has come up with in a long time. Okay, so there's the two side pieces. Now I'm just going to bend up on these other pieces, and I'm going to continue along with that, and I will speed up the video once again for you so that you don't have to watch me sit and bend a lot of paper, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now our next step is just going to be to miter the corners on these edges. So I'm just going to pull out my little snips here, and I don't want to miter them too close. And the reason being is sometimes you'll get, once you put your little box together, you'll get what looks like little see-through gaps in there. And we're not putting anything in the box that could fall out, but still I would like to look at for it to look as professional as possible. So we're just going to avoid doing that, and then I'm just going to speed up the video once again while I cut these little corners out of our box sides. Okay, there we go. All of our little corners are mited down, and now we can start putting our box actually together. Okay, so what we're going to do is, these are our box bottoms. We are going to set these down in the middle, and we're kind of just going to put our pieces around the way that our box will go together. So in order to do this, we're going to use one of the cardstock pieces and one of the designer series pieces. So we're just going to put our designer series paper piece towards the front. I'm going to put these pieces on the sides, and then we're going to put our cardstock there at the back. So as we put these together, we do just want to space them out, so I'm going to use the other box piece, and I'm just going to put it there as a guide. This time I'm going to use tear and tape, just to make that a little quicker for us to go through there. And my tear and tape escapes me, so give me just a moment to lay my hands on that. I had just hid my tear and tape incredibly well, but here it is, and here we are ready to stick down and finish our box up, or at least continue on our box. So, just going to put that piece of tear and tape down there. Oh, one thing I did forget is we're just going to not that part. There's our box bottom piece here. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the backing from the tear and tape here, once I get it stuck down well, that is. Oh. And it occurs to me that I forgot to put the lid on my Tombow, and since I don't want that to dry up and go bad, now I'm just going to get my Stampin' Up! Pokey tool out here, so that I can use that to get the pieces of this tear and tape up. So that will just make my life a little quicker and easier there. There we go. Alright, and like I said, we're going to use the other box bottom here just kind of as a spacer. We do need to have just a little bit of gap there, or we can take our box bottom and just lean it in right underneath that piece there. Make sure that it's lined up perfectly on both sides, and just lift our paper up there and put it along that piece. And you'll see when I lay it down, it does have a nice little gap, and that is just the same width as putting that piece down in there. So that's perfect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put our back on that piece. Let's grab another piece of tear and tape. And I think what I'll do is just go ahead and put the tear and tape all the way down on all the pieces. and that'll just speed things up a little bit. Now, we're going to get our pokey tool here and just lift that backing up there again. And we're going to put this piece together the same way that we put the last piece there together. So I'm just going to stick this right next to my cardstock there, line it up right on the inside, and then just bend our cardstock up from the bottom there. You can see that leaves just a little tail there on the bottom part, and when I open this back up, you can see I've got just that little bit of gap there on each side. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to happen. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do is work on our side pieces. Every bit the exact same way that we work the other parts there. Just going to line that up. I don't know why I have such a shaky hand there right now. And press and seal that. And turn around and do the same thing here. This box is going to be so beautiful once we're done. Can't wait to see it all finished. Like I said, I love this designer series paper. I love how thick it is, not just being your, normal paper. This just does have a very nice thickness to it and perfect for this kind of thing. Okay, so here is our box ready to be assembled. The one thing that we are going to do is we're going to take these three sides of both the front and the back, and we're going to wrap those. Not the sides, just the front and the back. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with my tear and tape, and I'll speed up the video while I get that put down. Okay, so now we have our tear and tape down on the front and the back pieces. We're just going to go ahead and take the backing off that and cover those edges. So now that we've got that part done, here's the trick part. So we are going to fold in the top edges over here. I'm just going to tear and tape. I'm still going to put my tear and tape all the way around. Well, yes, I am. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. Be decisive, Sharon. My goodness. Just trying to remember from memory how I saw the box go together here. So, I'm just putting the tear and tape on those edge pieces there. I'm going to go ahead and burnish that down on each side there, and then try to lift this away. Oh, that happened a lot easier. Alright, and then the same on this side. I'm going to fold that piece down. And there we go. Okay, so now the way that our box is going to go together is we're going to actually put the tear and tape on this side of the paper. And then when we fold it up, we're going to match up those corners. And that's going to be our glue that holds our box together. So let me just get the tear and tape going, and I'll put it on those edges. So I'm sure you're wondering, what about this? Well, that part is going to be covered up here, and you'll see at the end I've created a base that we're going to cover either in cardstock, or if I have some of this designer series paper left, we'll cover it with that. But if all else fails, we can cover it with mint macaron. Okay, so there's those pieces. And I'm just going to give those a quick burnish. Okay. And I'm going to lift away one side at a time here, so we can just get one corner of our box together at a time and not worry about where the other pieces are sticking to. So as we pull our box up and together, we do just want to meet those corners there as close as we can, and I'll show you that here in just a second. See how we've got the edge of those boxes just butted up to each other there. So that's perfect. I'm just going to get my bone folder in there and burnish that down, and then we'll go ahead and lift away our next piece. Alright, and here we are, matching up the corners of that box perfectly there. And see how nicely that comes together. Looks very professional. I'm really happy with that, if you can see that at all. Okay, let's pull off another piece of our tearing tape. Just going to hold that inward while I butt up the edges of the box here, and let that go, and press it from the inside. This is where your Stampin' Up! Bone folder is going to come in handy. You can get that right down into those corners all the way down. And I have mine with a little card kit that I put together. I am a caregiver in my other life and look after some elderly parents, and I just have my bone folder over at their apartment where I was working on some other card projects today. So today I'm just working with my album making bone folder. And pull the backing off that tearing tape. This one's a little bit trickier to get your hand into there, but it's not impossible. Just going to try and get that corner there. It's meeting really nicely down at the bottom, but trying to pull inward as I go up. So I'm going to try and just keep that consistent all the way. Just a little bit of finessing. I just put my finger in there and started gluing at the bottom where it was lined up nicely, and then lined up the rest of it and press that on. I'm just going to put my hand in there and my bone folder, pressing down those edges. Okay, so here is half of our box put together. You can see that's a pretty sturdy little box, but we're going to have it reinforced even a little bit more when we add the other piece. So I'm just going to go through all the same steps that we just did. I'll speed up the video, and then we'll put our two pieces of box together. So with my boxes done here, I have just gone ahead and I lined one side so that you could see what that looked like. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is we're actually going to glue our box together on that mint macaron side. That's why I didn't use designer series paper here. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to put some tearing tape all along the edges, or at least on the edges of one box here. And then I'm going to put Tombow glue in the center. And that tear and tape is just going to help us to hold everything together while the glue dries. Alright, and here we go with box adhering. Now before that tear and tape sticks, I am just going to do my best to make sure that I've got this lined up very nicely. I want the edges of those boxes to just line up as perfectly as possible. And I think I've got that. If I look around, you can see a perfect little seam there. It's awesome. Okay. And I did just make a base for this box to sit on, just to make it further a little bit more sturdy. So you can see I used some more chipboard that I rescued from, my home here. I tend to be a saver that way. So my box is about 8 1/4, or my piece of chipboard by 8. So I did do the Tombow thing and glue this double thick. You can see here that it is printed on both sides, so it is double strong. And then I have one more piece of my Share What You Love Designer Series paper that I'm going to cover that with. And that piece measures 9 by 8 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down. So let me put some more Tombow out here. I'm just going to squeeze and get a good little measure of that going before I start my smear process. And this time I'm just going to eyeball it. I haven't scored the paper like I did the last time. I've kind of been working at this box for a while, and I'm anxious to kind of get it covered and done. And I think that I can eyeball that pretty good to get it centered, and I want to really try and make sure that my paper doesn't crack this time. Unfortunately, we're covering up a lot of this Designer Series paper since it's going to be on the bottom of our box there. But that's the only way I knew to get the edges of the platform that are covered. So that's why we're doing it that way. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good right there. Just give that a nice press, turn it over, press it some more, make sure that that's very nicely adhered to that chipboard. Okay, and now I'm just going to go back and I'm going to miter those corners the same way that we did when we were covering the sides of the box. Well, my camera died just a little bit ago, so I do apologize that that happened. I did go ahead and finish cutting the corners out of this area of our base, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my stylus and run down the edges so it'll make it a little bit easier to fold. And then we're going to put some tear and tape on those sides and fold those up. Now this bottom side is going to be down at the table, so if you don't want to cover that, you do not have to. I just found that after I decided that I was going to cover the inside of the box, after I said I wouldn't, I wanted to have everything just a little bit more buttoned up. It's not the best job in the world, but it is going to be face down, so nobody is going to see it. On the other hand, if for any reason it gets tipped over, they're not going to know that it was a Clorox box. Okay, so now I just need to retrieve my box, and I've already started putting paper in that, as you can see. That just helped weight everything down while the glue was drying earlier. So I think the box looks pretty nice here. I'm really happy with the way that that came together. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put some Tombow glue down on the bottom, and we are going to glue it as close to center on that base that we just made as possible, and we are all done except for making dividers. So, and then I'll just show you what I came up with for the dividers. I love this little smeary tool on the Tombow. I keep saying that, don't I? Once I discovered where it was and how I was using it, I was like, why aren't other people saying how wonderful this is? I love that. But then again, as I said earlier, I do tend to make a lot of 3D projects, so it probably comes in a lot handier for me on that than other people that are just making cards and whatnot. Okay, so I think I have this right. Let's see if I can line it up really well here. This is just going to give it a nice little base to sit on here. I think that looks pretty good. It's going to make it nice and sturdy. I love that. Okay, I'm just going to turn it over, give it a nice press. This is a very sturdy box. Can you see that? And this is going to hold your 6x6 paper so nicely. Awesome. I love it, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So now we're just going to decorate it a little bit, and then we'll look at putting some dividers in there. So I do have some, let's see where I put it, some mint macaron ribbon that I wanted to put on here. You can of course embellish this any way that you like. I just thought that ribbon would look really nice around there, and I'm also going to use a special little embellishment and a limited series stamp that I had. When our new annual catalog was coming out, they let us pre-order this Love What You Do suite, and when I got that, I was able to get this limited edition stamp that I'll show you. And it is called the Statement of the Heart stamp. You can't get this anymore, but this is what I'm using. Please feel free to embellish your box with whatever you like. You can look at my website, www.cardcrazysharon.stampinup.net. You can find a plethora of different things to decorate your box with. Oh, look it. I thought I had left my bone folder at my parents' house. I just found it right there. Let me just put it in my toolkit there so that I can use that. And they have this little embellishment set that you could get with these beautiful little laser die cut labels or banners or what have you. And I'm just going to use one of those to decorate up and stamp on. And that's going to fit nicely with that particular stamp. And I'm just going to put my ribbon around behind that. That'll be wonderful. So, let me just get my stamp out of here. And this is a little trick I learned from someone, and I just use these little magnetic sheets. I put these inside my stamp cases. and I put my dies on there. So if I have a Stampin' die set that coordinates, such as the Sea of Texture set, that whole suite, I just put one of these magnetic sheets inside the cover, and I have all the framelits and all the stamps all in one case. And that just really helps me out a lot. So these are my stitched dies. So this is a wonderful set. It comes with the ovals, the circles, and the squares. And I just keep those right in there with my Statement of the Heart set. And that's just kind of a go-to thing for me. Okay, so apparently I did not clean off my block very well the last time. So let me just get a wipe here and clean that off. Alright. It's my nephew's birthday this week, well as my parents, and so I have been card making like crazy this week. And I tend to, as you can see from my work surface, get ink and whatnot everywhere. Okay, so now let me just figure out what color of ink that I want to do this with. Looks like it could be Tranquil Tide, Mint Macaron, even Early Espresso. That might be the best. I think Early Espresso would be great. So let me just get a stamp pad and I'll be right back. So now I have my Early Espresso. I have my little laser die, and most of my stamp pads are the new style stamp pad. This particular one is an old one. I did get a set of neutrals just prior to the new style coming out, so they are the only set that I have that's old. Everything else is the new style, and I have to tell you, I love the new style. Love it, love it. But when you have a brand new set, it's kind of hard to just go out and replace that one. There's absolutely nothing wrong. I haven't even had to re-ink this set yet. So, and I do just give that, you know, just a few seconds for the ink to soak in. Oh, and that came out still just a little bit, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. I could have inked it a little more, I guess, but like I said, I'm absolutely fine with it. Now I am going to get my ribbon and put that around my box. And I'm not sure that this Mint Macaron ribbon, I know they have some new ribbons in that color, but I think this one may have been discontinued. And you're not able to get this stamp set anymore. This one says, to love what we do and share what we love as we help others enjoy creativity and worthwhile accomplishments. In this, we make a difference. So this was kind of a stamp set kind of geared more towards demonstrators. I actually love the stamp set. This is not available anymore. But like I said, please feel free to decorate your box any way you would like to. This just happens to be my style. So I am going with that. Alright. And I am going to use some tear and tape on my ribbon and then glue that around the middle. You can see how that ribbon looks there, just taped and nicely adhered right around the side of the box. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay down my little label right there on the front. So again, I'm just going to put some tear and tape strips along the back of that, and we will be good to go. Isn't that beautiful? What a nice box, and how sturdy. You can see just how sturdy that is. Now we can fill it with paper, This was a clearance paper. This was our wood colored paper, and I think this is Garden Impressions. Is that right? Yes. Let me look at the name of that one, make sure I got it right. Wood Textures. There we go. Then I also picked up some Tropical Escape. And these other ones are just, I believe I have a Brights and In Color. This is the In Color that has Blueberry Bushel, Lovely Lipstick, Pineapple Punch, Call Me Clover, and Grapefruit Grove. That's just a beautiful little set there. So, they fit just nicely, as you can see, into the box. You can take the plastic off. No need to keep the plastic in there. And then I will just give you a tip on a divider that I made for them. I did just make this one out of some craft cardstock just so I could see. I used my envelope punch board, and this card measures, I know it's 6 inches across, but I made it in total 6 5/8 so that it would stand up a little bit. And then what I did was I put it in my envelope punch board, and let me just show you how I did that. My envelope punch board is just a little bit different and fancier. I do apologize for that, but yours is going to work exactly the same. So I used this line right here. I lined it up right in the center. I punched. I did that on the other side. That's what created this little edge and this little edge. Then I took it over to the 2-inch mark and I punched again. Then I flipped it over. I put it to the 2-inch mark and I punched again. That gives you 3 tabs. And of course we don't need 3 tabs on one card, but sometimes you don't know where you want them to fall. So if I wanted this to be a middle tab, I'd just take my snips and I'd cut off the 2 endwards there. If I wanted this to be a left tab, then I would just either use my trimmer or my snips and cut along and cut those 2 tabs off. And you can turn that over and then it would be the right tab. So same thing. And that just sits so nicely right above our paper so that you can label what it is that you have there, as you can see. And there again is our completed box. Beautiful way to store your 6x6 papers. Very sturdy way. And it can sit right here against my workspace so that I can reach over and grab my designer series paper anytime I need to in the 6x6 size. For my 12x12 paper, I have a plethora of other storage things for that. I had nothing for 6x6. I did just purchase a ton of paper during the sale this last month, and here it is. So, I hope you have enjoyed this project for today. If you would like to purchase any of the products that you see here today, except for the ones I told you were not available, I would be happy to have your business. If you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. If you need a catalog, please comment below. Let me know that you need a catalog. I'd be happy to put you on my list. Unless you already have a demonstrator. I don't want to steal anyone else's business. But if you don't have a demonstrator, please give me the opportunity. I would be so thrilled to be your demonstrator. Or if you like, you could join my team. It's always a wonderful time to join Stampin' Up! You always get $125 worth of product for $99. And you get a 20% discount from then on buying the products. That's a great way to do it. And just being on my team, we have so many, fun things that we do. There's usually an incentive gift that I give you to get you started in your business or just in your discounted crafting hobby. So please comment below, share my video if you like, subscribe if you like what you see, or give me a thumbs up. I would love that. If you make this box, please let me know. I would love to see pictures or videos, and I did say that I was going to give credit for where I was inspired for this box, and that was mixedupcrafts.com with Samantha Clayton. Thank you so much, Samantha, for inspiring me to do this with household products, chipboard that anybody can lay their hands on at any time. Thank you so much for watching me today. I really appreciate you stopping by. Have a wonderful day.